Can a single YouTube video take down a billion-dollar car company? That's what it looked like when tech reviewer Marques Brownlee called the Fisker Ocean the worst car he's ever reviewed. What if that video didn't cause the collapse, but it just revealed it? Today, we're diving into the wild rise and fall of Fisker, the EV startup that promised to beat Tesla and imploded in plain sight. In 2016, Henrik Fisker stepped onto the EV battlefield with a bold mission. He wasn't just joining the race, he was gunning straight for Tesla's crown. This wasn't some unknown startup founder with a napkin sketch and a pitch deck. This was Henrik Fisker, the design legend behind some of the most iconic machines at BMW and Aston Martin. The guy who made cars that didn't just drive, they turned heads, dropped jaws, and lived on posters. But this time, he wasn't just designing a car, he was building an empire. A new kind of car company. One built from scratch for the future by a man with something to prove. And Fisker didn't enter quietly. He exploded into the scene with Silicon Valley swagger, promising next-gen everything, solid-state batteries that charged in minutes, solar panels on the roof, sleek curves wrapped around luxury interiors, and timelines that made legacy automakers look like they were still building horse carriages. He wasn't aiming to compete with Tesla. He wanted to leapfrog it entirely. At the center of his master plan was the Fisker Emotion, a $129,000 electric supercar with butterfly doors, 400 miles of range, and a battery tech breakthrough that sounded too good to be true. The media ate it up. Headlines called it the Tesla killer. And for a moment, it looked like it might be. But here's the twist. That car, it never shipped. It never even got close. Instead, Fisker hit the brakes and pivoted to a new strategy, the Fisker Ocean. A slick, all-electric SUV built for younger urban buyers. Something more attainable. Starting at $37,499, it was sleek, stylish, and priced to undercut Ford, Chevy, and yes, Tesla. On paper, it sounded like a slam dunk. Investors flooded in. The media couldn't stop praising it. They even partnered with Caterpillar to push new battery innovation. For a moment, it felt like we were back in 2010, when Elon Musk still had to explain what a supercharger was. But behind the digital renders and keynote speeches, the cracks were already forming. Because building an electric car, it's not just hard, it's brutal, it's unforgiving. It eats through cash, time, talent, and souls. And Henrik Fisker? He was about to learn, again, just how merciless that road can be. Fast forward to June 2023. After years of bold promises, flashy concept photos, and a carousel of delays, the Fisker Ocean was finally here. Not a prototype, not a sleek animation or CGI hype trailer. We're talking about real cars, rolling off production lines, touching real pavement, in the hands of real customers. The dream had officially left the pitch deck and hit the streets. But it didn't take long for that dream to glitch, and glitch hard. Because the Ocean, it looked ready. It wasn't. Early owners quickly discovered their brand new EVs had a mind of their own, and not in a cool, self-driving kind of way. We're talking software so buggy it felt like alpha testing. Steering wheel buttons randomly resetting your music. The driver alert system beeps at ghosts, and if you stopped on a hill, you'd better pray, because the car didn't hold. It rolled, straight, backward, into traffic. Still, Fisker stayed calm on the surface. They promised fixes, big ones. Version 2.0 is coming, they said. But there was a catch, an absurd one for a modern EV in 2023. The car couldn't update over the air. No wireless patch, no quick download. If your Ocean needed a fix, you had two options. Drive it to a service center and wait, or cross your fingers and hope a technician showed up at your front door. For a $50,000 car, in the age of Tesla updates and smart everything. And that's when the story hit a breaking point. February 17th, 2024. The bomb dropped. One of the most respected voices in tech, Marques Brownlee, aka MKBHD, released a video. The title, "This is the worst car I've ever reviewed." That alone was enough to send shockwaves. Because Marques isn't a hot take guy. He's calm, objective, respected. So when he opens with,
"This might be the single weirdest automotive reviewing experience I've ever had,"
you listen. And he didn't come swinging blindly. He laid it all out, piece by piece. The broken software, the laggy interface, the hill brake that just didn't exist. And to his credit, he tried to be kind. He complimented the seats, the materials, the aesthetics. But once he got to the tech, that's when the gloves came off. It was factual, calm, brutal, and the internet ate it up. Within 10 days, the video exploded past 4 million views, and just like that, the dam broke. The world wasn't just curious about Fisker anymore. They were watching it fall apart. And then, the internet did what it does best. It exploded. Within hours of Marques' review, Reddit threads were multiplying like wildfire. Posts titled "Fisker Fall," "Ocean Nightmare," and "Worst EV of the Year" dominated the front page. On X, formerly known as Twitter, the memes were relentless. GIFs of cars crashing, wheels flying off, and flames set to the Fisker logo. Owners chimed in with their own stories: software bugs, safety scares, ghost alerts, even cars refusing to unlock. The Ocean wasn't just a car anymore. It had become a punchline, a trending topic, a digital punching bag. Inside Fisker, it was full-on panic mode. Executives scrambled. Engineers got yanked out of development and shoved into damage control. Emergency meetings were called, strategies rewritten overnight. One senior staffer even phoned the dealership that had loaned the car to Marques, desperate to figure out what went wrong, as if the answers hadn't been obvious for months. And here's the crazy part. They knew this was coming. They didn't want this review out, not because it was unfair, but because it was too accurate. In fact, according to Marques, Fisker refused to send him a car in the first place. They claimed a major software update was just around the corner. They asked him to wait. So he waited, and waited. Months passed. No update, no car. So finally, he just borrowed one from a dealer and reviewed it himself. And he wasn't trying to sink the company. He ended the video saying he wanted Fisker to improve, that competition is healthy and more good EVs help everyone. But by that point, the damage was already done. The match had been lit. And Fisker? It was soaked in gasoline. And here's the part that most people missed. At the time, this looked like a PR nightmare. A few headlines, some bad buzz. Nothing a patch couldn't fix, right? But under the surface, this wasn't just a broken product. It was a broken company. Systemic flaws, financial chaos. And that review, it didn't destroy Fisker. It simply exposed the rot that was already eating it from the inside. By the time Marques hit publish, Fisker wasn't just in trouble. It was already in free fall. Their 2023 financial report wasn't just bad, it was catastrophic. Over $463 million in net losses. That's not a typo. Nearly $500 million gone. In a scramble to survive, they laid off 15% of their workforce and began desperately hunting for cash. Their supposed lifeline? A rumored $400 million investment deal with Nissan. A deal that, according to insiders, could have kept the lights on. But just days after the MKBHD video went viral, that deal mysteriously evaporated. Was it a coincidence? Maybe. But let's be real. If you're Nissan, are you throwing millions into a company being publicly roasted for shipping glitchy, half-functional cars? Probably not. And then, the real collapse began. Fisker got delisted from the New York Stock Exchange, booted off the financial world's main stage. Lawsuits started piling up like unpaid invoices, over 30 of them. One supplier claimed they hadn't seen a single payment in months. A customer service company sued for $660,000 in unpaid fees. An engineering firm came forward asking for $1 million they say Fisker still owed. But the worst part? No one inside Fisker seemed to know where the money had gone. That's not an exaggeration. Auditors literally couldn't complete their reviews because basic financial documents were missing. One former employee said they were chasing down lost checks and unaccounted for wire transfers. Think about that. Millions of dollars just floating in the ether. Total financial chaos. Publicly, Fisker blamed supply chain issues. But behind the scenes, the story was uglier. Vendors weren't being paid. Some suppliers flat out refused to send parts until old invoices were cleared. And when your supply chain doesn't trust you anymore, that's not a delay, that's a death sentence. And here's the part that makes it all even crazier. This wasn't Henrik Fisker's first crash and burn. Back in 2007, he launched Fisker Automotive with another ambitious goal: build the ultimate luxury hybrid. But that company flamed out by 2013. Same founder, same branding, same big vision, same brutal ending. It's like watching the sequel to a movie where you already know the plot twist, except this time, the budget was bigger, the promises were louder, and the explosion way harder to ignore. So here's the big question everyone keeps asking. Did Marques Brownlee, a YouTuber, actually destroy a billion-dollar company with just one video? It's a dramatic headline. But the real answer? Not exactly. What Marques did wasn't sabotage, it was exposure. He didn't burn the house down, he turned on the lights. And what we saw wasn't a victim of bad luck. It was a startup drowning in its own hype. A company more focused on selling a vision than delivering a functioning product. One that cut corners, ignored warning signs, and burned through investor money faster than its cars burned battery. Marques's review didn't kill Fisker. It stripped away the mask, and underneath, we saw the reality. A company that couldn't manage basic software updates in 2023. That couldn't track customer payments. That shipped a $50,000 vehicle without one of the most basic safety features, hill hold brakes. Fisker didn't die because of a single bad review. It collapsed because it ran out of what every company needs to survive: time, trust, and money. But this story isn't just about Fisker. It's a much bigger cautionary tale. It's what happens when buzz gets louder than results. When companies chase media headlines instead of working hardware. When tech founders start believing their own hype and mistake attention for execution. It's a reminder that in this era of digital hype and billion-dollar valuations, optimism without discipline can be deadly. And here's the twist that most people miss. Marques wasn't the villain. If anything, he might have been the only red flag waving before the crash. The one voice saying, "Hey, maybe look a little closer before you buy into the brochure." Because this wasn't just a failed launch. It was a system failure, one that was hiding in plain sight, until someone pointed a camera at it. And the irony? Tesla's first car, the original Roadster, wasn't perfect either. It had issues. It got criticism. But Tesla made it through. So the real question we're left with isn't whether Marques killed Fisker. It's, why did Fisker fail where others survived? That's the billion-dollar question. And the answer might tell us a lot more about the future of tech than just one electric SUV. Fisker was already falling apart. Marques just turned on the lights so we could see the wreckage. This wasn't just a bad car. It was a slow-motion collapse hiding behind slick marketing. If this made you say, "No way," hit like. Subscribe for more insane breakdowns. And drop a comment. Was Fisker doomed from the start or just unlucky? And if you thought this was wild, click the next video. I'll see you there. Stay sharp. Stay curious. Don't trust the brochure.